Pompeii was an ancient Roman city located in Italy, near the Bay of Naples. It was a busy and lively place with markets, temples, houses, theaters, and even public baths. About 20,000 people lived there. The city was doing well. People were farming, trading, building homes, and living happy lives. But one day in the year 79 AD, everything changed. A nearby volcano called Mount Vesuvius erupted. The eruption was sudden and powerful. It completely buried Pompeii under ash and rock. Almost everyone in the city perished, and the city itself was lost for nearly 1,700 years. Let's take a closer look at what happened in simple English. Life before the disaster. Before the eruption, Pompeii was a rich and important Roman city. The land around it was very good for farming because of earlier volcanic eruptions. People grew grapes, olives, and many other crops. A few rich families owned big houses with beautiful gardens and artwork. Pompeii had paved roads, running water, a drainage system, and buildings made of stone. It was a modern city for its time. Pompeii had schools, theaters, temples, and even fast food restaurants called thermopolia, where people could buy quick meals. People enjoyed watching gladiators fight and visiting markets. But people living there didn't know that Mount Vesuvius was a volcano that could erupt. It hadn't erupted in hundreds of years, so they thought it was just a mountain. They were not prepared for what was coming. Signs before the eruption. A few signs warned the people, but they didn't understand. 17 years before the eruption, in 62 AD, there was a large earthquake. It caused a lot of damage to the city. Some buildings collapsed, and cracks appeared in the ground. The locals worked hard to repair their city, but they didn't realize the earthquake was related to the volcano. In the days leading up to the eruption, there were smaller earthquakes and strange smells in the air. Wells dried up. Animals acted nervously, but people still didn't leave. Earthquakes were common in that area, so they didn't think anything big would happen. The eruption begins. On August 24th, 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius finally erupted. A huge cloud of ash, gas, and rock shot high into the sky. It was taller than an airplane can fly today. People from Pompeii and nearby towns saw the dark cloud and didn't know what it was. Some tried to leave, but many stayed. At first, small rocks and ash began to fall from the sky. It looked like it was raining pebbles. The air became hard to breathe, and everything was covered in gray dust. Roofs began to collapse from the weight of falling ash and stones. Many people ran to shelters or hid inside their homes. What happened to the people? Most people died because they waited too long to escape. Some thought it would pass. But a few hours later, the volcano became even more dangerous. Mount Vesuvius sent out fast-moving, deadly waves of hot gas, ash, and rock, called pyroclastic flows. These flows were extremely dangerous as they raced down the mountain at high speed, about 200 miles per hour. Pyroclastic flows can reach a temperature of over 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill people instantly. The flows moved down Mount Vesuvius like a river of fire and smoke, covering everything in their path. People who were outside or in buildings near the mountain perished quickly. Some were trapped while trying to escape, while others were asleep. Their bodies were buried in thick layers of ash. The city is buried. In less than 24 hours, Pompeii was completely buried. About 4 to 6 meters, 13 to 20 feet, of ash and stone covered a whole city. It became a ghost town. Nobody could live there anymore. Nearby cities like Herculaneum, Stabiae, and Oplontis were also destroyed. Because everything was covered so quickly, many things were frozen in time. Walls, paintings, furniture, food, and even people's final moments were preserved under the ash. But for centuries, no one knew where the city was. Pompeii was forgotten. Rediscovery. In the 1700s, workers digging for a new palace in Italy found pieces of old buildings and strange objects underground. At first, they didn't know what they had found. But slowly over time, they realized this was the lost city of Pompeii. Excavations, digging to uncover old things, began in the 18th century and continued over the years. Archaeologists, people who study old places and objects, were amazed at what they found. Streets, homes, shops, and even graffiti on walls were still there. It was like a time machine had saved everything from the past. One of the most shocking discoveries was the plaster casts of people. When the ash covered bodies, the soft parts of the body decayed over time, leaving a hollow space in the ash. Archaeologists poured plaster into the spaces to make molds. The result was a perfect shape of the person at the moment they died. You can see fear, pain, or even calmness in them. Some are covering their faces, others are holding each other. These casts are powerful reminders of what happened. What we learned from Pompeii. The tragedy of Pompeii taught us many things. 1. How Romans lived. Because so much was preserved, we now understand a lot about Roman life. What people ate, how they decorated their homes, what jobs they had, their hobbies, and even what jokes they wrote on walls. 2. Volcano science. Pompeii showed how dangerous volcanoes can be. Scientists use it to study eruptions and help keep people safe today. 3. Importance of warnings. There were signs before the eruption. Earthquakes, animal behavior, gas smells. But people didn't recognize them. Now we know to watch for these signs when volcanoes act strangely. Visiting Pompeii today. Today, Pompeii is one of the most visited historical sites in the world. You can walk through the ancient streets and see how people lived 2,000 years ago. Tourists come from all over to see the temples, baths, theaters, houses, and shops that were once full of life. You can also visit the museum in nearby Naples, which has many objects and the famous plaster casts. It's a sad but amazing experience. Conclusion. Pompeii is a powerful story of life and death. It shows us how nature can destroy everything in seconds, but also how that destruction can teach us so much about the past. The people of Pompeii didn't know they were living next to a volcano, and when it erupted, they didn't have time to escape. Their lives were frozen in ash, and their city was hidden for centuries. Today, Pompeii is no longer forgotten. It tells the world the story of beauty, tragedy, and history, and it reminds us to always respect the power of nature.
Question 1. Where was the ancient city of Pompeii located? A. Near the Tiber River. B. In northern Italy. C. Near the Bay of Naples. Two. What natural disaster destroyed Pompeii? A. An earthquake. B. A volcanic eruption. C. A tsunami. Three. How many people lived in Pompeii before the disaster? A. About 20,000. B. About 10,000. C. About 50,000. Four. What warning sign occurred 17 years before the eruption? A. A drought. B. A hurricane that flooded the city. C. A large earthquake. Five. What made Pompeii a modern city for its time? A. It had cars and electricity. B. It had paved roads and running water. C. It had indoor plumbing and kitchen appliances. Six. What are thermopolia? A. Fast food restaurants. B. Public baths. C. Temples. Seven. What are pyroclastic flows? A. Streams of cold lava. B. Fast-moving waves of hot gas, ash, and rock. C. Heavy rain and thunder. Eight. Why did most people in Pompeii not escape? A. They didn't hear the volcano erupt. B. They waited too long, thinking the danger would pass. C. The streets were blocked by snow. Nine. How were the plaster casts of people made? A. From statues found underground. B. By carving them from stone. C. By pouring plaster into hollow spaces in ash. Ten. What can we learn from the story of Pompeii? A. How to build stronger cities. B. How Romans lived, and the danger of ignoring warning signs. C. How to grow grapes and olives.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.